That concludes our entree and takes us on to our main course. So, in Fantasy Super Rugby, Draft Rugby, Fantasy Super Rugby Round 3, the buys this week are the Rebels and the Crusaders. So, I made a little note here, should we even bother watching since the Crusaders and Richie Moe aren't playing? But alas, I think we will.
You're screwed this week, man. I wish I was playing you.
No,
No.
am I?
Yeah.
I'm playing Nelson, yeah.
I'm hoping.
Ooh, is it the Battle of the Dales?
It is.
Yeah, good. Well, you
I was
can
hoping I was versus Kagi.
look forward to listening to a half an hour about that at the start of the podcast next week. Fantastic. All right, so first fixture this week coming up, we have the Reds taking on the Force, I'm assuming in Queensland, on Friday night. And what do we think's going to happen here? I think the first point I'll start with is that I can't see the Reds changing anything. I think last week we said that it was the first time the Reds had named an unchanged lineup in something like a couple of years. It's like 2016 or something. And I can't really see them changing much into round 3. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Is it too early to call the Force the Sun Force?
I think we'd be disrespecting the Sunwolves with that. No, you know what? Maybe we should carry on that tradition of the bum team being called the Sun something, just to pay homage to the Sunwolves. But no, all right. Who wants to jump in and talk Red Sun Force?
I thought you were doing it, but I'll happily do it, mate. Look, Harry Wilson really got involved in attack last week, and it shows the difference. The Tars in round 1 against them, they just sit their back rowers, Swinton on him to shut him down, and that's really going to be something the Force need to do here. Target him with line speed and not let him get that advantage and be on the run when he's hitting that ball. The whole back row, though, for the Reds is just – they're going to dictate a lot of this match as well. Liam Wright, he didn't do anything too flashy this week, but he's just got such a good work rate. He stole a few line-outs, made 14 out of 14 tackles. You throw him in with Mick Wright as well. It's going to be very tough for the Sun Force back row to try and contain these 3 guys because they could just absolutely wreak havoc in this match, is what I'm predicting. For me personally, we were talking about it a little bit before, Chris Farwell-Saltea, he had a great impact off the bench. He has been good when having a chance earlier on this year and in previous years. He is a very good player. We could potentially see him slot into the starting spot. I don't think we necessarily will, especially, I suppose if there's a week to do it, it is probably this week, which means we might see Paisami shift into 12 and CFS come on to 13.
Surely that's a long-term plan when Geordie Pataya comes back anyway for Hunts to play there. So, I mean, they've got to trial it.
That's a good point I didn't consider. I mean, I know they love Hamish Stewart, just the stock standard. He's been very good, I think.
He's been good.
Mate. He's good in defence, that's it.
He's been a solid 12. I refute what you just said. Look, I think it's going to be...
Attack. They go nowhere in attack because of him. It's all on James O'Connor.
Is Paisami's preferred position 12 or 13? Do we know that? I mean, obviously he's young. They can train him up in either. But
I don't know what his preferred is, but he's mainly been 13.
True, but I think the point is it's going to be a tough battle anyway. When Pataya comes back, where can CFS fit in? Because
the tough thing for them is Dalgunu's been playing really, really well since his return. So it's going to be.
They rate Dalgunu. He's on a long-term contract.
See, Chris Farwell-Saltea has been in the Wallabies. He's played well when given an opportunity. Next year, he's going to have even more competition if they still have Sualasi Vunivalu.
He signed a 2-year contract. So
yeah, so if he comes in, he's an absolute massive threat. And he could be a real quality winger for them. So, look, is it time for Chris Farwell-Saltea to look somewhere else? I'd happily have him at the Tars.
And it's true. And I was just going to say, and we haven't touched on, obviously, the other winger who's holding out his spot is Jock Campbell, who they're huge fans of.
He was brilliant early on in the year, and he's still not been too shabby, but not to his standard at the start of the year, I think. But he's definitely earned himself some more time there.
For mine, I was going to say, for mine, I'd like to see Jock Campbell at fullback, and then we can stick CFS on the wing. But there's a lot of fans of Bryce Hegarty, though. So
maybe drop to 12 and have Hegarty at 10.
Yeah, you could do that. And I was going to say, though, now that Hegarty's not kicking his goals, James O'Connor's taking a lot of that responsibility on. So,
but by that you mean he's dead to you now at your fantasy team?
Yeah, 100%.
That's what he offered. Look, Godwin's probably going to come into the starting side. Craigs was talking about him maybe filling Nick Eust's spot, and therefore they would lose their kicking game. The thing, though, what happened was he did not sub for Nick Eust. He subbed on for subbed on for Brad Lacey. Marcel Brackie moved to the wing. So I think John Lance was actually playing outside centre, which is where he's been playing most of his time in recent years.
Kyle Godwin, you meant, sorry.
Kyle Godwin has shifted into outside centre, which is where he's been playing a lot of his time. I know I've chatted to Harry about it before. Harry sees him as a 12. I think he can fill that 13 slot. He's quite a hard runner and a solid defender. He's a chunky fella. I think he can fill that role quite well for them. That means they're keeping their kicking options, which is going to be quite strong in this Super Rugby AU. So I see him coming in at 13 and Marcel Brackie probably pushing to the wing.
I think I like that. So,
speaking of big unit centres, how giant does Henry Tafu look?
I know, right? He came on. I was like, "Who's the number 8 that's come on?"
Yeah.
Do you remember him for the Reds? He was tiny compared to now.
And Afro adds like 15 kilos.
I think I was actually a very big fan of him in the NRC a few years ago. Before I think he went and played for
Rams.
Tom?
Nah,
so yeah. He's a great player, so I think he could be a starting role for them, but I just don't know how you fit these guys together unless you then have Godwin go to 12 and Taufu go to 13.
That's what you do, mate. You sack the rest of the bums in that team and put those two in.
People that did stand up for the Force, we touched on a few of them earlier, but Stander, he had a real solid game. The South African, who's been there for quite a while. Jack McGregor, I think he's a real talent there at 15. Pryor, he's Harry, I'm sure, put this one in because he's kicking goals.
It was me, actually. I picked him up for that.
He had good control early on in the game, but I think he did sort of fade away a fair bit, but he is not a bad player.
He's just a fantasy player, I think, is probably Cargie's point. Any 9 that can play 10 and kick goals as well, that's bankable points there. If the Force are actually putting some points on the board and being competitive, that's a good scorer that you want.
His issue is the Force aren't competitive, so he's not going to be kicking many goals. He doesn't beat defenders. He doesn't break the line. He has pretty average defence. He had 3 from 4.
Yeah, no, my point is that, look, he got 20 points without really doing anything this game, mainly because he kicked a few goals. And so if you can get a halfback who can get away with 20 points without doing anything, then the day he does do something, he'll get you a score. That's
fair. He did versus the worst team, but that's fair. Henry Stowers, he also worked quite hard. Tevin Ferris wasn't bad as well. We don't have it written down here. I was relatively impressed by the work rate of Fergus Lee Warner as well. He was quite a quality second rower for them. We didn't get to see it. Sorry?
I was going to say, we talked about him before, so he's one of these back rowers come lock. Very, very agile, athletic, so he's fantastic.
Yeah, so look, there's a few guys there that could do well. The red scrum should absolutely dominate the old man of Kieran Longbottom and Greg Holmes, who may well bring diapers to this match because it's going to be tough for them.
Look, I don't completely agree. I reckon Greg Holmes is an excellent scrummager. My point was more, he was always excellent when he was at the Reds. My point is
so old.
Start him. They need someone that can actually hold them together.
True. He's 37.
Mate, surely the doctor over in South Africa from playing. He's 38, isn't he?
Surely it was the case of he hadn't had much time in the saddle, because he was a late signing.
I think it has to be. Yeah. I think if you're not starting him, you're just ridiculous. But look, I can't see the Reds starting as poorly as the Tars did. The Force looked well drilled early, but they couldn't continue it through the whole match. I think they're going to really have trouble in this one. The Reds are just going to be, I think, too intense for them, and the Reds are going to really run away with this. How do you boys see it?
Bang on.
Yeah, in Queensland, I reckon it's going to be 20 points, 25 points.
I was going to go 3 converted tries, 21 points.
Yeah, I was 20 plus. I was on there, so I think we're all in
Cool. Hurricanes Blues.
agreement. Very good. All right, taking us. Yep. Do you want to take that one?
I would love to. Look, so returning, the Blues have got a pretty solid pack at the moment without many changes. I think I don't think that they're going to change their back row, which is the only place that they could make changes. On the other hand, the Hurricanes have a few guys that may be back, but nothing has been confirmed. So tread carefully if you're going to actually play fantasy footy and make early trades. Gareth Evans was apparently only a minor ankle injury. Reed Princep, a minor hammy strain. Fraser Armstrong, a minor knee injury, but it looked pretty sore when he came off the field. That was one that we did see. And Dane Coles, they said a minor calf injury. But
all these minors should be playing for the Western Force, Harry, Western Australia. 24s would love them.
Yeah, Spence. They might be more competitive. Next year they might be, mate, when the Kiwis are playing in the 10-man Super Rugby comp with the 5 Aussie teams.
You just fill the Western Force with Kiwis for sure. They all live over there anyway.
Well, if Twiggy keeps paying the salaries, mate, some of them will come, surely.
Yeah, it's true. Dane Coles, this minor calf injury is the same calf, apparently, that kept him out of a lot of last season, and I think maybe even some of the year before. But apparently there was an article saying, and I do remember this in hindsight now, that he was even considering ending his career because of it. So, I mean, a minor calf niggle in that calf, I think everyone's going to be stressing out over in Wellington that it's not going to settle like they expect it to.
Let's get a calf implant, mate, surely.
Obviously, yeah. Look, so I think the Blues are not likely to change very much. They've been in a good place. The one obvious one I think we all agree on is Harry Plummer was relatively impressive at 12. I was pretty happy with what he did, but TJ Faiani maybe needed a rest, but he's been excellent. You've got to start him. I think he plays a lot straighter than Harry Plummer does. I think the defense is not much different between the two of them. I think they're both pretty solid. I think TJ Faiani is a much bigger threat with the ball than Plummer is, and they both have the ability to distribute and put a short kick in as well. And if anything, I think TJ Faiani's short kicking game has been excellent at the 12 jersey as well.
I think that he plays a similar role to what we said Simone's been trying to do at the Brumbies for earlier on in this year. I think someone like Caleb Clark's going to benefit more from someone who can actually straighten, suck some defenders in, and can also throw that ball, whereas Plummer didn't really keep the defence honest.
I agree. And sorry, go on, Craigs.
I was going to say, I think, pretty bang on. I think Plummer to me still is a 10 first, 12 second, which means that he thinks about passing the ball instead of taking that first step forward, whereas TJ, it's straight first step forwards, which is a big difference.
Other players I thought Aotearoa Black had probably his most quiet game. Maybe that's unfair for the Blues against the Crusaders. And I don't know what you guys thought, but to me, it looked a lot like Bodie Barrett put his hand up to try and take control a lot more on the weekend against the Crusaders. He kind of went, yeah, this is a big game. It's time for me to play a lot more first receiver. So Black just kind of got shunted out of the line. Did you see it that way or not?
Black set up 2 tries. He had the 2 try assists in this one, which were both the tries for the Blues. I just don't think, as you said, he didn't seem to impart himself as much with Bodie sort of taking over a bit of that role for chunks of time.
Yeah,
I think he was just starstruck seeing Richie Mo'unga standing across from him on the field.
I don't blame him. But, fair. I do know that long ball to Talaya for their first try was very good from Black.
If Bowden does go into 10, who will we have at 15? I think, obviously, Pero franchise is out for the season, but it's only really Duffy's the only real option at fullback, isn't it?
Don't give a guy a chance.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I don't think that's the problem.
Well, I just feel like if they had a really good 15 option, like we're going to get to in the Hurricanes game, they would consider sticking Bodie straight in there. But anyway. There's
got to be someone else. I don't know. Let me think about it. Look, you already mentioned if Dane Cole stays out with that minor niggle, Asafa Moore is excellent and playing the house down. He's just got to get his line out throwing right. Nelson, your boy Wes Huisson, sorry.
My boy.
Love him. Is he ever going to get a run again over Cobus Van Wyk, who seems to be the Hurricanes' new favourite child?
I think they did share a lot of time with a few of them both getting starts early on in the year, but Van Wyk's he's finishing well. He's a good stable winger. He's doing what you'd expect of him there. So it's going to be tough for Houston.
And who's going to be the look? I've got 4 options for you for 10 for the Hurricanes. You got Fletcher Smith.
Hold on, before that, I was just going to say, I think Houston must be spitting chips, though. You know what I mean? All the finishing that Cobus has been doing has been, that hasn't been anything particularly special for mine. Like nothing that Goosen couldn't do himself.
First round,
and I think everyone's forgetting he went from villain. He's gone from villain to hero, mate. You remember the first game where he threw the ball back in, stupid try, things like that. So,
yeah.
Look, we'll keep pushing on because I'm dragging out as I always do at the moment. At the 10 jersey, you got Fletcher Smith and Garden Bishop, I think no one's really happy with. TJ Perenara seems to be the smoky for the jersey and just played Jamie Booth at 9. But I mean, what I think the three of us can all agree on is surely they just put Geordie Barrett to 10 and give Chase Tiatia the 15 jersey.
I've said it every week.
He's an All Blacks 10, mate. Just put him there. Make it happen.
And as if he doesn't want to as well. I mean, I guess the only reason he wouldn't want to is because he wants to continue playing in the All Blacks, which he's not going to play 10 in the All Blacks. So
he's not going to play 15 in the All Blacks either.
Yeah, well,
it's a good point. 13, to be honest.
To be fair, it doesn't actually matter where he plays in Super Rugby. He's going to make the All Blacks, and they'll just put him anywhere, or he'll be the bench slot. You know what I mean?
He'll be a backup for someone, but he'll be in the squad no matter what.
As if he doesn't want to play 10.
Yeah, I think he needs to get involved as much as possible. He's been slotting in at first receiver and trying to take control of this game. He can do that best from 10.
Yeah. Look, a couple other quick ones. So I think the Hurricanes 4-pack's going to struggle to keep up with the Blues, which I think is probably the reason the Blues will get up on this one. Carl Tui Inokuafe got his first game back from his hammy injury, I think it was. So it'll be good to see him. I hope start over Alex Hodgman, although, it's definitely not an obvious starter. I think the two of them have been competing for that jersey. And lastly, Artie Sevilla, still not 100%, but looks to slowly be building. What do you think? What is sitting there in the forwards, or what do you think for the result on this one?
Yeah, look, that back row for the Blues is so powerful. Without Sevilla at his best, with Karifi making still some very silly decisions, and a few other little weaknesses around that forward pack with the Canes, I do think that's where the Blues' strength will be. Yeah, I think this is going to be a tight game, though.
I agree. No, look, I think the Blues will have the run of the mill with this one. I don't think it'll be as close as Nelson's suggesting. That's just my 2 cents. But yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a combination of those the back rowers, but the class of those Blues outside backs, I think they'll be too much for them.
I reckon Blues by 5, unless Geordie Barrett plays 10, then I'll go Hurricanes by 5.
That much of an impact, wow. I'll go Blues by 10.
I'll go Blues by 6.
Cool.
Fantastic. Excellent. All right. Well, that brings us on to the Tars and the Brumbies. So, returning in this...
20. Oh, we need more details?
What? Oh, is that it?
20?
Yeah, your game done? We move on?
Yeah,
we go to bed?
20, yeah.
Is that it? You happy?
That is generous to the Tars.
Yeah, true. No, all right. Well, look, we will have it. We'll quickly run through this one. In terms of exciting things returning, Tom Banks should be returning from a foot problem. He it sounded like he probably could have been there in round 1, but they just decided to we'll bring him back after the break. Maybe Solomone Kata, a player I'm very excited about, who I've loved on the right wing.
Physically, or
yes, physically, absolutely.
You've loved him physically.
I have. No, and the reason I say he might be back is just because I had seen him on the Brumbies Instagram page, him at training. He looked, it's hard to tell obviously, but it looks like he was in full fitness. And I can't see any world in which they prefer Andy Muirhead over Solomone Kata on the wing.
Mate, that is such a big claim. I've seen him on Instagram. He looks to be full fitness. Keep going. I love it.
He looked good. He looked good.
Basically, if I see someone running a training on Instagram, I'm like, he's back to full fitness, right?
You know how many tears they run them at like 2 weeks, even if it's a 6-week injury or an 8-week injury.
Look, put it this way. I guess if you saw me running at training, I'm at full fitness. So, I just thought it's the same. Is that?
And you're on par. You're
No one will see
on
you.
par physically.
No one would you see you running at training, mate.
No, that's true. Actually, Harry's talking about he's planning to run 100 kilometers in July, and I said I don't know if I've run 100 kilometers in my entire life total. So anyway, we'll see. Moving on. For the Tars, likely back Tom Robertson to warm the bench behind Angus Bell, his new role.
Yeah.
Wallabies
Mate,
prop.
they'll give Bell a rest. He needs a rest.
Hopefully not.
We'll see. He had a ripper last week, so.
My money would be on Bell starting again. Tom Robertson's coming from a back injury, which is not something that I suppose you want to go too untested. They're definitely going to be doing a lot of opposed stuff at training, but I think this is probably the week that Tom Robertson comes off the bench when Bell needs to do good for me against Harry, and then Bell can have a rest next week.
Excellent.
Hopefully they're listening.
So as we said, what did Harry say? He said 20-0. We said perhaps that might be giving the Tars a bit too much credit. Well, the last round of Super Rugby 2020, the Brumbies smashed the Tars 47-14. So I don't think the Tars have come much further than that. But anyway, changes. Carmichael Hunt, so he came off the bench. He surely slotted straight back into starting at 12. Joey Walton has been better, certainly in his first game, but Carmichael will be straight back in there. Brumbies, can't see much changing for them, particularly in the back row. Valentini and Samu, can't see them changing. The only possibility, maybe Cusack getting the bench for Miller. Don't know how you guys feel about that. I thought Cusack played well.
Look, they're both very good players. I think Cusack's been doing well, but I wouldn't expect this. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Miller get a start this week.
Look,
Excellent.
And you've got so much depth there that you've got to perform really well to actually hold down your jersey. McCaffrey's there as a vice captain as well on the bench in round one, and I think that he kind of deserves a jersey at number 8 for a start as well. Pete Samu, not probably as good as he can be at times. A little bit quiet in round one.
Yeah, fair. No, that's a good point. So we'll just have to. I mean, I think they'll still run with Valentini and Samu this week, but yeah, no, it's certainly something to watch. And sorry, I keep saying I can't imagine they'll change much more. The last one is Scotty CEO probably coming in for James Slipper. They just rotate 2 Wallabies starting loose head, so I think that's probably likely to happen. For the Tars, it's pretty simple in this one. Basically, the Tars have to start really well. They can't have a slow start like they did against the Force because they won't come back against the Brumbies. They have to start well and they have to keep their pedal down to the gas. I don't know. What do you think? Do we think we'll see any changes to the Tars? It was the same question as last week. Will we see Jack Dempsey come in?
I think we will. To be honest, I think we'll see Dempsey get a run to give Will Harris a rest because they're a very young team. You can't give them back-to-back starts. I think Joey Walton is probably needing a rest. He's had a couple of starts and, to be honest, hasn't been overly convincing. So I think you'll see Carmichael Hunt definitely get a start there after making such a good impact. And also Tommy Staniforth as well. I thought he had probably his best game off the bench. And Ned Hannigan is definitely not offering enough in the scrum for the Tars. So
I agree.
I think it's a big Brumbies pack. It wouldn't surprise me if Staniforth gets a start as well, just to try and shore up the set piece a little bit.
I agree with all this, sadly.
Fantastic. All right. And last point on this one is just the battle of the 10s. Will Harrison and Noah Lalesio. It's going to be fantastic. 2 young 10s, both possibly vying for the Wallabies jersey. I mean, I don't think they'll actually get the start in the Wallabies this year, but definitely the form 10s in the Australian Conference. So exciting to see how that plays out. So what do we go? Obviously, Brumbies, Harry said 20. Nels, you go more than that?
My gut says 25. My heart says 18, and I'll be happy with anything under 15.
I can't be bothered thinking, so I'm just going to back Harry. I'm going to go Brumbies by 20 as well. I'll go 21. I'll just take 1 point on him. You know what I mean?
Brumbies going to beat the Rebels by 8, and the Rebels are pretty rubbish in that game.
True.
Fantastic. All right. Well, on to a team that has been rubbish. The next fixture, the Chiefs and the Highlanders. Will we see the Chiefs, I don't know, turn it around somehow? Who wants to rip into this?
Yeah, look, we can share it, but I'm happy to start. The winless Chiefs versus the Highlanders. Natua Arkoi, hopefully he's going to return after this one. He was stretchered off for a head knock in that round one of our competition, but he was walking around post-game, which is a positive. I haven't seen any updates since. Anton Brown, he had some concussion symptoms and therefore was rested or pulled. Mitch Karpik, he also had a concussion before the bye, but don't forget these guys have all had that extra week off. Josh Ioane, hopefully we see him. He should be right from his groin injury. If so, I think we see him come straight into that 10 jersey. And I think we see Mitch Hunt slot into 15, but share that sort of playmaker role a little bit as a 10-12, 10-15 sort of combo.
Yeah, I think we touched on it saying Mitch Hunt's getting better every week. So Josh Ioane wouldn't want to sit on the bench another week or two. He might not get his spot.
I think Hunt could fill that 15 role that's been quite lacking for them at the moment. Collins really has just been absent for them. They've tried a few other guys there and they've all been pretty poor. So I think that would be a good crack to give these guys a chance. They might need to use Mitch Hunt for his tactical kicking game as well in this one. So I think he's got to be on there. Nehem Milner-Skudder is now targeting round 8, which is it this week or the following week that he's targeting for us? Following week. So who knows when we'll see him or if we see him. But yeah, he's starting to look more like a player coach / morale booster like DC at the Blues. Chiefs need Anton Brown there to shore up and give them a bit more power in that back line. Alamilo needs to be back starting and absolutely firing on all cylinders. But it's tough in that centre pairing. Who's your partner for Anton Brown? Nankerville really hasn't had his crack. Tupai has had good and bad sort of times. Tamua Manu, he offers a few different things as well. Who do you think will pair up with Anton Brown there?
I think they'll go to Pyre again, but I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I think we say it every week. You know, obviously we love Nankerville. Hasn't got a shot, but I don't know. It's all about ALB for me. He's just the key to that. He's not just the key to the back line. He's the key to the Chiefs, really. When he's on form, they seem to be going. You know, things seem to be happening.
I think they've pushed their chips into Pyre, to be honest.
I think so as well. Look, I think it's time we see Samasoni Takeaho get another run again. He was so powerful in them early on this year. He's getting roughly 25 minutes in the last couple of games, and it is not something that's working out good for them. Give him an absolute just crack at doing whatever he feels like. The guy's a beast. What do the Chiefs need to improve? It's a hard one to put your finger on because they have power, they have some real quality around the paddock, but they just can't seem to put it all together. They have an absolute incredible roster. Gatlin's, he's not seeming to impart himself on this team as much as everyone expected there would be. I mean, there's no real evidence of him doing a lot in terms of how they're operating.
I think, yeah, my note here that I chucked in was like, I don't know what's changed with the Chiefs. Their roster hasn't changed all that much. When you go through it, it's still pretty amazing. They've got strength all throughout. So what's going wrong? Like, is there something with Gatlin taking over? Has he changed anything, any of the structures, and it's not paying off? I don't know. Like, there's nothing particularly evident to me, but I just can't put my finger on what's going wrong with the Chiefs.
My assumption is, not being the analysts, that they're not playing. They don't seem to be playing in the Chiefs' manner that we know and love. Like, they don't seem to have the same attacking endeavour and license to thrill that they always have. So I think Gatlin's a little bit more structured than what they might be used to, and I think they're probably just getting used to that change. And when the competition is such a high level, a small drop in form makes a big difference.
Structure, I think, is probably the key word there. He's come across from Six Nations and UK footy, and where they really need to be structured in the way that they play, more so than Kiwi footy, which is, dynamic kick returns, having people there popping off the ball, and it's not suiting the Chiefs at the moment, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah. who else in this one? Liam Coltman to start. The Coltman Dixon merry-go-round continues, but Dixon really played well, I thought, on the weekend. Harry and I were chatting about him. For me, he's been the standout between the two of them, and I think he's earned that spot. But in this side, they just seem to share time, so I wouldn't be banking on either of them to start in your fantasy side. Scott Gregory, hopefully, I mean, this is someone who's been talked up so much. They don't have that presence on the right wing when he's been having his chance. They don't have Naholo or Nabura or Fainganuku or someone there to fill that tough, strong role. He is really just not putting his name down on that wing.
Mate, you stepped around my talking point there. I said they're not able to fill their Waiseki size Naholo on the right wing there. I thought that was gold, really. But Tima Fainganuku, I thought was someone of that mould, but he just hasn't lived up to the hype. I mean, he was fantastic for Tasman in the
he hasn't had enough of a crack to be able to live up to that hype. To be fair,
is he available? Like, he's not injured? We know Nabura is injured. Is Fainganuku?
But I think he's available.
I think he's available.
Yeah. Anyone's guess who starts on that right wing there, but I assume it's going to be Gregory again.
Yeah, sadly it could be, but hopefully they just go, let's just throw anyone else in there. Throw in, what's his name, the back rower that filled it in for them as well.
Ricky Ben Nicholas.
Oh, look, and on the weekend they had Shane Frizzell, Marina Makili Tu'u, and Tariki Ben Nicholas as their back row at one point in that match.
That's what dreams are made of.
Yeah. How do you see this going, boys? Do you think the Chiefs will get their first win, or the Highlanders will double their season tally and get 2?
How are you first?
My gut feeling is that the Chiefs will get over the line, but I think both teams are showing lots of good things without showing that kind of whole last strike to be able to score a lot of points. So I think they're both kind of going to be pushing to see which team can, I guess, get their mojo back a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to be different. I'm going to say I think the Highlanders will get it done. I just think they've been more consistent, and whilst I love the Chiefs, I can't keep backing them week after week, and I just haven't seen. Like I said, I can't put my finger on what needs to change. So, and I can't see any massive spark happening. So I don't know.
It's hard between it. I agree with both of you there. Look, I think the Chiefs will get up mainly because they're at home. They just went down last time. They've got a few changes. Last time they had Caleb Trask at 10. If they can get ALB, Alamalo in and firing, that'll be what they need in this match. But it's going to be a tough one.
Alamalo better be starting for them. I swear to God, like he needs to be on.
He does.
Very good. All right. Well, that concludes our main course.